right, here we go, folks. Live once again. I am Mean Gene from the Sports Kings in Carlsbad, California, and I am joined by a great friend of the show who we did this last year. It seems to be a tradition that we're going to be doing here, Brian, from CBSSports.com. Senior writer Brian DiArdo is here to talk the post Super Bowl 60 game. How about that, Brian?
How about that? Yeah, good to be on with you. Thanks for making the time for me the day after. It's kind of funny because I know you guys did a show Saturday where you were trying to figure out what was going to happen. Well, this is the exact opposite. Now we're digesting everything, right? So, which I like because now I can't be wrong. Because
Yeah.
I picked the Rams. We can, or not the Rams, the Patriots. We can get. I guess we'll get into those things later. But yeah, it was interesting Super Bowl. But I'm looking forward to talking about it. Absolutely.
Hey, look, man, Jacob and Dustin says, you know what? Brian really thinks he's slick. Okay, right. So he will not be wrong doing this show. And look, it was a tough game. Well, I won't say it was a tough game to predict. I think, it was unanimous almost. Dustin was the one that decided to go out on a limb and say, you know what? I'm going to respect this Patriots defense and I'm going to pick the win, which he was looking pretty good there for a minute, but ultimately, Brian, I just think when it came to prognosticators like ourselves, I mean, everybody sort of got it right, don't you think?
Yeah, I think where I got it wrong, because like I said, I picked the Rams or the Patriots to win. I respected New England's defense, I think, a little more, and Drake May a little bit more. I think the thing that I overlooked that you and I think most people that got the prediction right saw was the fact that, let's be honest, New England had a really easy route to the Super Bowl. They were kind of the default AFC team, right? I mean, I would say, you know, Buffalo was probably as good, if not better, if they were healthy. Denver was better if they were healthy. So at best, they're probably like the second or third best team in the AFC.
Mhm.
And so, I think the pot for them, the benefit of Josh Allen not having to face him, Bo Nix being hurt, the benefit of was you get to go to the Super Bowl. Congratulations. The
Right.
negative is you probably, I don't want to say didn't deserve to go, but now you're going to run into a team that's really good and got there by their own merit. I mean, Seattle didn't take an easy road. I mean, they earned the number one seed by beating the Rams a few weeks ago. Was it week 17 they did that?
Yeah.
They killed the 49ers. They beat a really, really good Rams team. So they were battle tested, right? So I think in the future, when you're trying to make predictions, maybe for me, this will be the lesson is don't overthink it, right? Like go with what you know. And what we all knew was Seattle was the better team all year long, and they faced they had a tougher road to get there. So that's why I think you and many other people nailed this pick.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not like we totally disrespected the New England Patriots because look, man, here's a franchise that is familiar with this time of year, even though there's no Tom Brady, and some of the names have changed, but some of the names have not changed, like Mike Vrabel. How about his leadership and what he's done? Mike Vrabel is a legitimate head coach, and if you were grading this from just a coaching standpoint, and I told my friends yesterday that the New England Patriots had a better coaching staff. You got Josh McDaniel, who's been around for most of those Super Bowls, and there was always that opportunity for them, especially at the halftime, to go in there and draw up something and make it happen. So I give a lot of credit to that coaching staff from New England because man, they were the better coaching staff.
No, for sure. And I think that was kind of my thinking going into the game. I picked the Patriots, 20-17. And I think part of my thought was they're going to try to make it a rock fight. That's what they did all postseason, right? With the Chargers was that 16-3 against Houston. They forced CJ Stroud to make all those turnovers. And then in the AFC Championship game, it was a defensive battle that they eked out and won 10-7. So like I felt like that did kind of play out last night. I mean, I'm sure they wanted more points, but if you told New England, okay, you're going to be down 9 or 12 going into the fourth quarter, they would probably have taken their chances, right? I mean, you're
Mhm.
2 possessions away. I think what they didn't account, and this is why I know some people may not have liked the Kenneth Walker MVP pick. I think one why I liked it was that was the difference maker in the game. Because if you take him away, that game is a legit coin flip. Because and I
Right.
think, Walker wasn't as big of a threat in the second half. I mean, he had 94 yards in the first half, the second most rushing yards ever in the first half behind Timmy Smith, who has the Super Bowl rushing
Oh
record.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But but he wasn't as great in the second half, but I thought that his just presence helped the passing game get better. It helped Sam Darnold get better. It made them less predictable where New England wasn't sure if to expect run or pass. And I think Drake May didn't have that. I thought Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson were going to be better as a 1-2 punch
Yeah.
than Kenneth
Yeah.
Walker. That's what I was banking on. And the fact that they were a no-show, the fact that their running game was a zero. And that's the thing. It's like no one's really talking about that as far as the post-game discussion that I've heard. There's no talk of Drake May didn't have any help. And because of
No.
that, they became a very predictable team to face.
Absolutely, because look here, me and my best friend, and we talked about this morning, the fact that Bad Bunny actually had 124 yards during the halftime show, whereas, whereas Henderson and Stevenson 42 yards combined, and you're right, man. And that's I just know that the OC Josh McDaniel, I know that he relied on that running game, but look. There's a reason why those guys didn't have a great game as that Seattle defense, and that was the defense that we knew that would show up here because Sam Darnold did not have a great game as well, and this is one reason why he wasn't the MVP of that game. Because look, Seattle's defense had to go out there and do what they had to do, and they held those guys to 42 yards combined.
Yeah, and I think if there's one thing when I kind of look at the entire game, if you look at it from the New England perspective, I think, and it's easy to say this now, and as somebody that watches a lot of Steeler games like yourself, this kind of drives me crazy. It seems like too many coaches now have become too risk averse, where they're too afraid to take chances because they don't want to make any turnovers, right? And I think at the end of the game, now obviously we saw Drake May kind of have the game clinching turnover, right, which led to the last touchdown, which really put the game away. But their offense had two scores when they started to open things up. Drake May, and again, one of the reasons why I picked New England was I thought Drake May was going to be a difference maker on the ground. In general, I thought New England's running game was going to be able to have success.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Seattle's defense was really good, but I watched them get chewed up pretty good by the Rams this season, and I kind of was less impressed with their defense as I was with New England's. And New England's came to play too yesterday.
Yeah,
They
they
kept
did.
saying in the broadcast, they were jumping routes, they were aggressive. But I thought New England would have been better served if they were trying to be more of the aggressors on offense and try to take more shots down the field. I mean, Matt Collins had a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Stephon Diggs was a no-show, which honestly really surprised me. I thought he'd have a bigger role in the game.
Yeah,
But
me too.
I thought they played a little too risk averse. I thought they played a little scared on offense. And I do think it took Drake May a while to get going. I do think that I don't want to say the moment was too big for him, but I certainly feel like the Super Bowl absolutely impacted him. I mean, he was the second youngest quarterback ever to start a Super Bowl, so
True.
that's not really a knock on him. But I do think that it took him a long time to get comfortable, and when it did, it was a little too late. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing, Gene, and Kenneth Walker is the first running back this century to be Super Bowl MVP.
It's been a while.
That's amazing.
That's crazy. It is. And look, and look, I got the stats up from this game, and when you look at these numbers here, Brian, it was closer than you really think. I mean, there were some categories where, when you look at the penalties, let's talk about the officiating real quick because man, they really let them play. There were no long stoppages of the game where we had to wait for New York or anybody to say hey this that or the other. But they for the most part they really let these guys play. But man, when you really look at this, the time of possession there was sort of even. I know you can't see the Patriots, but it says 20. I think it was 26 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
You look at the first downs. Look at the total yards. You like, man, this thing is pretty even even the passing yards. New England had more passing yards because Drake May was able to make some big plays, downfield. But where the tail of the tape comes in is when you look at that rushing yards, and that's what did it. You got the 42 yards combined from Stevenson and Henderson. But man, look, of that 141 rushing yards, 135 of them came from the MVP, Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, and for me, I went into this game thinking if Seattle wins, Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think could be the MVP. It could break a Super Bowl record, whether that was Jerry Rice's receiving record or whether that was James White's receptions record, which is insane that the Super Bowl receptions record is held by a running back, but I digress. But yeah, I was surprised with his lack of activity. I think he obviously was dealing with an injury which affected him, but I just keep going back to Kenneth Walker. And I don't watch a lot of Seattle, and I haven't seen him play a lot. I know as a rookie, he was really successful. He's kind of a bigger version of Le'Veon Bell, and I even think Chris Collinsworth last night alluded to him, to Le'Veon Bell on a run that Walker had, where it did look like Le'Veon, where he paused.
Yeah.
And they both went to Michigan State, and so there might be a relationship there. I don't know, but and that's a lot of what Bell did look like before he lost weight after his rookie season and wanted to be more nimble, wanted to be more of a versatile back. But his ability to get to the outside was really impressive, especially for a big guy. And because he's big, once he's able to turn the corner, now you're one-on-one against the safety. He's gonna win that matchup a lot, right? And I was even getting some Terrell Davis flashbacks when he had that 30-yard run down the sideline. He gets that full head of steam. Defensive backs don't really want a piece of him. And a crazy thing about him in this game as well. The second possession when they scored to go up 6-0, he had a 29-yard run and a 30-yard run. First time ever in Super Bowl history, a running back had 2 carries of 20 yards plus on one drive. Never had happened before, which is pretty crazy. So I know that there's been this big narrative and talk about Sam Darnold, and that is a really cool story. But I think Kenneth Walker's got a good story too, because he came on the scene as a rookie, 1,000 yards, people loved him, and then he had some injuries, and I think then he got kind of slapped with that tag that he's always hurt. Right. Charbonnet took some carries from him. And honestly, Gene, again, the big story for me all year was I doubted Seattle all the time, and I never learned my lesson. Last night, my hand finally got caught in the cookie jar for good. And I think, again, when they lost Charbonnet late in the year, I go, that's another one. And then Eamon Worry got hurt during this week, and I just kept thinking, man, Walker answered the bell, and last night, that 65-yard run would have put him. Remember the flag? There was one. I think they were only flagged 3 or 4 times.
Right.
If that flag doesn't get thrown, he's I think 200. I think he's at 200 yards even for the game. Exactly. And if they would have gotten the ball back, let's try to get him that 5 yards.
I know.
And so I think he was a very deserving MVP and another good feel-good story.
Well, I mean, how about the fact that Seattle put so much confidence in this guy? Because look, we talked about this too with Zach Charbonnet not being there. You would think the New England defense would say, "Hey, man, we're gonna focus on this guy. We're gonna limit. We're not gonna let Kenneth Walker kill us in this game." And he ended up doing it anyway. And if you ask me, I just think Seattle set this guy up to succeed here. I mean, they stuck with him. I can't recall who was the other running back that they brought out there on the field for to get a couple of yards out there, but it was Kenneth Walker all day and all night long in that Super Bowl. So yeah, he deserves that. But let's talk about Mr. Myers, who kicked those 5 field goals, right?
Yeah.
So, look, social media was blowing up, Brian, with oh my God, we're about to have a kicker be the MVP, right?
Yeah, so, I wasn't buying it. I was hell bent that Walker was going to get it.
But look, I mean, okay, so however you want to look at it, because I heard arguments, every which way. If it wasn't for Kenneth Walker, getting the yardage and that offense getting to a position on the field for Myers to kick the field goal, you don't get those field goals. But man, if he misses a couple of these field goals, the Patriots are in a close game.
Yeah, and Myers was great, and I had the same thought that you just said, because because I had a feeling he might be MVP Walker. So I wrote that story in like the second quarter, and I'm sitting there waiting. I'm excited to publish it, and then Myers. But I had the same thought that you did. I think it was in the third quarter where it's like, and this is no knock on Myers, but who's putting him in position to make these kicks? It was Walker. A lot of it in the running game, right? And so, that's not an indictment against him. Also, he didn't really have any. I don't know what his longest field goal was, but I don't think he had any over 50. I think they were all
no. They were all makeable, right?
They were all makeable. And again, not an
Right.
indictment against him, but to me, if you're going to be the first kicker to win Super Bowl MVP, it's got to be like, remember when the Steelers beat the Chiefs in their last playoff win and Boswell he had all their points, 6 field goals? Now maybe we're talking, right? Or if he would add 5 and 1 was the game winner, now we're talking. But I just thought Walker was a little too good. And like I said earlier, to me, if you take Walker in the running game away and you say they have 41 yards, now New England has the advantage in first downs, total yards, time of possession. I think that kept the Seahawks offense on schedule. And again, you saw in the second half, I think the first drive they came out and scored, making it 12-0. And Darnold, that was the best he had looked. And they had a few drives, they were really backed up. And Darnold made some nice throws. But I think, again, the presence of Kenneth Walker forced New England to be a little bit less aggressive, specifically in the secondary. And I think that opens some things up for him.
Hey, 29-13, final score, Seahawks win. And even though, look, they covered the 4.5 spread there, but this thing was a little bit closer than what it really kind of looks like on paper, even though Seattle held them scoreless for 3 quarters. That fourth quarter became kind of interesting because they get to 13, right? Talking about the Patriots. But just when you thought they were about to make it interesting, Brian, then there goes the Seahawks, with putting up their points in the fourth quarter as well to ice the game.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny because during the game I was told, where's this rank as far as worst Super Bowls ever? So I was working on that during this whole fourth quarter. So I got to rewatch the fourth quarter to get a better idea of what happened. Mm-hmm. But initially I'm like, I could probably make this number 1, and then I'm like, 5, 8. It's because it did get better. To your point, it took forever. I want to say, I just saw this stat too. The Patriots were the first team since the 73 Vikings to not get on the board in the Super Bowl until the fourth quarter.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So they were down 24-0, I think, until they scored they were getting blown out against the Dolphins. They lost that Super Bowl 24-7. But yeah, it did get kind of interesting there. I got to rewatch it to see everything that happened. But I think what happened was they were more up tempo on offense. May kind of started to let it flow because I think at that point there's nothing to lose, right? So at that point you have to start taking chances. So he was willing to play a little bit more risk reward, and it worked for a couple scores. But obviously he had the turnover. But it's interesting because I wrote a story last week. I ranked every single Super Bowl 1 to 60, all of them. Mm-hmm. And last night I ranked the 10 worst. This one is in there. And which you could argue if it deserves that or not. We could argue it, but one that you can't really argue is the year before. So we've had 2 bad Super Bowls in a row in terms of not exciting. No lead changes. The better team clearly won, and it is interesting too, Gene, because now we're in this parity era of football, which should make for better Super Bowls. But the last 2 have not been better. They've been blowouts by the NFC, which I do think now shows you that the NFC now is clearly the better conference because even though they have, and now maybe we can get another layer in this whole thing. The NFC's better teams, AFC has better quarterbacks. So isn't it better to have a better team, the better quarterbacks, and maybe less good quarterbacks means more money to pay everybody else. So the Seahawks may not have the best quarterback, but they have a more affordable one, which means he's on a better team, which means they win.
Right. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because, man, look, Sam Darnold, all that he has been through. The Jets and the Vikings are probably thinking, man, had we just been a little bit more patient, mainly the Jets because they're the ones that drafted him. And, right. Somebody saw something in Sam Darnold. I saw things in him as a USC quarterback because, that's my team. And man, USC quarterbacks often get a knock in the NFL because they all don't really. It takes them a long time to mature in the NFL. We saw it with Matt Leinart, Matt Castle, Carson Palmer may have had a little bit of greater success, but no one had Sam Darnold being an elite quarterback in the NFL. But somebody did, right? Because they drafted him. They drafted him high in that 2018 draft. So are the Jets kicking themselves now? Because they're still looking for what? A quarterback.
Well, right. And the Vikings GM just lost his job. So I'm sure that Darnold's success played a factor in that. But, I always love this quote. It's Kevin O'Connell's quote, the Vikings coach. He said at one point in the last couple of years, franchises let down franchise quarterbacks more than franchise quarterbacks let franchises down.
Wow.
And so I think that was obviously what happened in New York. They never, and I think, it's funny with Darnold because I always go back to this. He was 7-9 with the Jets in one season, which with the Jets isn't terrible. I think it was the year with him and Le'Veon, the one year they were like teammates for a whole season. They were 7-9 and they weren't a good team. They didn't have a good coach, and they still had the division with the Patriots when they were the Patriots. So like that's really not that bad. And then Gase gets fired and everything kind of falls apart there. And then he goes to Carolina. And this is really, Gene, where I was more sold on. I was never out on Darnold. But I think when I started to really think there could be something there was his 1 year with the Panthers. They fired their coach. Steve Wilkes, who I thought did a great job as their interim, was their interim for the rest of the year. And they, I think, finished with a winning record. And Darnold was their quarterback. And I really saw what he could do with a team that actually was functional. And he had that good running back with Hubbard. And they had a system where they leaned on the defense and Hubbard. Darnold threw it when he needed to, made the occasional plays, and they won. And that's kind of what I saw in Minnesota. And that's what I saw in this game. And this season with Seattle, and we saw it in Pittsburgh really early in the year when they whooped the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
Darnold was really good in that game. True. He's got some elusiveness. And I think, like anything, the more you do something, the better you're going to get at it, right? The longer he was going to stay in the league, the longer he was going to learn defenses, learn a playbook, gain more confidence. Because confidence is big in anything you do in life, right? Whether it's golf or writing, podcasting with you, or whatever it is, the more you do it, you're going to get more. So I think you just, and that's the sad part is people don't give these guys enough time.
They don't. They really don't. And you mentioned like Kevin O'Connell. Okay, you get with the right people. Same way I felt with Bo Nix getting with a Sean Payton. You get a Patrick Mahomes with an Andy Reid. He didn't have that in New York, even though they drafted him. We see how many coaches New York has gone through. But getting with the right people, even getting with a Shanahan up there in San Francisco, Sam Darnold has gotten with the right people, and man, Seattle has benefited from it. Even Mac McDonald. I mean, he's a young up and coming coach. Congratulations to Clint Kubiak now, who is the head coach of the Raiders. And real quick, Brian, are you excited if you're a Raiders fan? You got a Super Bowl winning coach, and you got a national championship winning quarterback coming to your organization.
I see
the excitement in your face, man.
If I get it. There's always like, listen, me, we would love if the Raiders were good again. Mm-hmm. I love the silver and black. I love the history, Stabler. I think I love it. I love the old Raiders. Absolutely love them. Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, Cliff Branch, all of them. But gosh, that franchise is such a mess. So I get Kubiak's belief and drive to maybe get them back to where they were. But the other part of me is like, man, you got something so good at Seattle. Like, why would you leave that? You know what I mean? It's like, if you're I remember when who was it? There was a coach. Mike Brown was coach with the Golden State Warriors. They're winning all those championships, and he's the assistant. It's like, why would you leave? Just stay here and or Eric Bieniemy, right? He's back in Kansas City, and I get it. You want to prove yourself at the highest level to be a head coach.
That opportunity, yeah. I mean, who would turn that down, though? I mean,
I know, and I get it. I get it. It's just, to me, it's like, Man, you got if you're. I think if I can say this real quick, I think part of it is we need to make. I know there's been a lot of complaining about the Hall of Fame. I know this is probably low on the priority list for the Hall of Fame, but I do feel like we should figure out a way to honor coordinators. Why are there no coordinators in the Hall of Fame for their role as coordinators, right? So, I think that's part of it is for a legacy standpoint. A lot of these elite coordinators feel like they need to be a head coach for a legacy or for whatever. It's like, man, if you're a three, like Steve Spagnuolo, right? He should be in the Hall of Fame easily.
Right.
And Bill Belichick, if you just took out here's what you did when you were a defensive coordinator, he's in the Hall of Fame. Buddy Ryan, what he did as a defensive coach, Hall of Fame. I really think we need to figure out that, for the Hall of Fame too, is find a way for these coordinators to get more love. That is absolutely not what you asked me, but I just wanted to get that off my soapbox.
No, I agree with you. That's a good point. That is a good point. But like you said, man, these guys are going to take this job. So the Raiders are probably looking at the Chicago Bears and thinking, okay, we have our Ben Johnson and Clint Kubiak. And they have a quarterback that's a hot commodity. So, all right, Brian, real quick, man, before we let you go, your thoughts on the commercials for the Super Bowl and the halftime show.
So, I had never heard of Bad Bunny, because I just like alternative music. But when I saw him last night, I go, I've seen him before. And then I saw it on Twitter later. He was Adam Sandler's caddy in Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah, okay. He was.
And he was great in that movie.
Good for
I loved him in that movie. He was awesome. Yeah. And that's my connection with him was like, because I know Adam Sandler had all these famous people in the movie.
Too many of them. There was
right. But so now it's like, no, well, duh, of course his caddy's going to be famous. I thought it was just some random young actor. And then I'm like, but I liked it. I know that there was a lot of criticism or controversy with his affiliation, which I don't really understand. I think, without getting political, I will say this. I do think to me, I think what people need to understand or to give people perspective is the Super Bowl or the NFL. I can say this. The Super Bowl now is no longer America's pastime. It is for the world. And I think last night's show was representation of the world. The world. And I think for Hispanics, I think for Hispanic Americans, I think that was, or Latin Americans rather, sorry. I feel like, or just for minorities in general, I think for them that was really cool because it was for not just your standard Americans, right? This was a broad. They broadened everybody's horizon, and I think that's really cool. I hesitate to say that the NFL is. I think it's still our game. Not that other people can't enjoy it, but I still think it's tailored. A regular NFL game is tailored for the regular Americans, right? The people that were born here and lived here forever. But the Super Bowl now is an international event, and I think last night's show was an embodiment of that. Now, and I did like the music. The halftime show, or the commercials rather, they were okay. See, and here's the problem with today's social media. The Jurassic Park one, if I had not seen it prior to last night, I would have been like, whoa, that's amazing. But I'd already seen it 3 days before on social media, right? So when it actually happened, I was kind of like, I've already seen it, but it was. They were okay. I don't know what you thought. I thought they were okay.
Yeah, I thought the commercials could have been a little bit better. But as far as the halftime show, I appreciate the arts. So anytime any of these guys put as much work as they do into their craft, it takes a lot to rise to stardom. Regardless of what you're doing, whether it's rap, whether it's country. I respect the art. So anytime they get out there and this is a major production, in the couple of Super Bowls that I've been to see a halftime show in person and just to see that all put together, it's entertainment, and I think, like you say, it has gotten too political. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy what we see and move on. So
What was your
that's
favorite
my
one
thought.
ever? What's your favorite one?
My favorite halftime show.
Yeah, I can give you mine.
It has to be Prince. Prince singing "Purple Rain" in the rain in
In the
Miami.
rain.
Yes,
Yes.
it doesn't get any better than that, right?
All right,
And
I got mine
Michael
for
Jackson
you.
ranks up there too.
See, I was like 6. I don't remember that, but I know it was amazing. I know it was
Yes.
amazing. My favorite was 56, which I think was Eminem, 50 Cent, and Dr. Dre.
Oh yes. That's
Like,
up there, man. That was a
and
classic.
again, I mean, and for me, 50 Cent, I was in high school. It was one of the first CDs I bought. Like, when I hear Get Rich or Die Trying, that brings me right back when I was washing dishes at Bob Evans. We used to play that with me and my buddy, and we would Many Men. And the best part was we would have the washer running, and we'd be rapping or try to rap,
Oh man,
and then
that's
the
funny.
water would stop, and then we were really loud, and everybody could hear us. And so it's just from a nostalgia purpose. Also, and you said you respect the arts, which I do too. I love when artists collaborate together and there's just this
Right.
like respect for each other. And then so
Yeah.
to see like Dre and 50 and Eminem, like
Mhm.
they were all great in their own way, and they all were like, "Hey, I dig what you're doing. Well, I dig what you're
Mhm.
doing. So let's collaborate."
It's
So
good
when
stuff,
they're
man.
all
It's
up there
good.
at the same time,
Yeah,
it
I
was
agree.
freaking awesome. Like I absolutely
That
loved it.
was awesome. So, all right, look, we got probably 365 days to get back to where me and you are next year. So, your thoughts, early picks. Have we seen the last of New England? Have we seen the last of the Seattle Seahawks?
Good question. I would say I want to ask you this real quick too, if this is okay. So I ranked all
Mhm.
60 Super Bowls. Which one do you think I had number one?
Number one, I saw that this morning. I haven't looked at it completely, but I didn't see the number one. I'm gonna say the number one would have been
Or I
was
could give you
it,
5 options and you pick one.
okay, go ahead, do that.
Let's do that. Because here's the thing. When I made this list, I hope you're not in a rush because I'm keeping you over. So
No, we're
it's
good.
I'm the guest and I'm making you stay.
No, Brian, hey, man, we always make time for you, buddy.
We do, yeah. Well, so when I made this list, the one thing I found was there's 5 in my opinion that are way
Okay.
better than all the other ones.
Okay.
And it's like the best running back argument. There's like 4 guys, like Emmett, Walter, Barry, and I'm missing one. Jim Brown, right? It's like
Right.
if you put Emmett's kind of everybody agrees he's 4, but everybody else, if you put Walter 1, you're not going to get an argument. But you put Jim Brown 2, you put So the 5 to me, and this was my top 5, not in this order, was
Okay.
43, which was Steelers Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
42, which was the first Giants Patriots. 51, which was Patriots Falcons the comeback.
Okay.
49, which was Patriots Seahawks round 1 with the Malcolm Butler pick.
Right.
And 5 was Super Bowl 25, the Scott Norwood missed field goal with 8 seconds left.
Ooh.
So that was my top 5, but not
Okay.
in that order.
But Brian, how could you leave out the greatest show on turf?
That was
That
6.
Super Bowl? Oh, you had that.
Oh,
At
you
6?
mean the Dyson?
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans.
That's 7.
Okay, I mean because look, I was at that Super Bowl, and
That was a
but
great Super Bowl.
That was a great Super Bowl that almost went into overtime, and it would have been the first Super Bowl to go overtime. But man, that thing was so close, and you had that, Steve McNair, and you had Kurt Warner,
Eddie
and
George.
It was a great Super Bowl. So that's probably my favorite one, actually.
I mean, and that was the reason why it wasn't to me number 1. And again, when you're ranking these, as you know, you're so nitpicky, because and the thing is, this is why I kind of like this conversation. It's objective, right? If you say it's the best ever, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, if that's your opinion, like, yeah, it was freaking awesome. Like, I was going to argue. Came down to the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
I think the lack of scoring in the fact it was 16-0, it was 9-0 at halftime.
Yeah, it was a boring for like.
But once Tennessee came back, we're cooking.
The second half was completely.
Oh, the second half was amazing.
Amazing,
absolutely.
Yeah. But I do like the Giants.
Yeah,
that one, Brian.
Which one?
The missed field goal there.
That was number one
with the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, because
that was my number one game.
And it's incredible because Buffalo, they went to 4 straight Super Bowls.
Yeah,
and they will always be known as the team that lost 4 straight Super Bowls had it not been for that kick.
That's exactly right. And why I picked it number one was it checked every box. I mean, the one thing, if you want to be nitpicky, is the last score was 8 minutes left. So that's kind of anticlimactic a little bit. And if he makes the field goal, it's probably the best Super Bowl ever. But I also people argue with me and said, well, there's actually it might make it better that he missed, because to your point, then Buffalo loses 3 after that, and but we had the whole Gulf War thing and Whitney Houston national anthem, you had that environment, and then the game was close all the way through. It was nip and tuck, and you had this the Giants had a backup running back and backup quarterback. You had the game plan of Parcells and the power running, and you had Belichick, who had 2 defensive linemen in at times, which was unheard of. So you had the whole chess match. It was a chess match. It really was.
Great. And I agree with that being your number one, though.
Not many others did, so I'm glad you do.
Because I just know that could have changed history for the Buffalo Bills, so to speak.
Yeah.
Brian, I know you got to make the rounds today, man. I know people are calling your name to talk about this Super Bowl here, but look, I'm glad you stopped by here first to talk about it. We had a comment on here, and I didn't. Okay, well, we just had somebody just said hi. Okay.
Well, hello.
So I'm thinking they said hi to you, Brian. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll dig it. I'm in.
All right, man.
We didn't get to the Hall of Fame.
We really need to, because well, you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about the draft. The draft is in Pittsburgh this year.
It is. That's right. I got to decide if I'm going or not. We'll see.
You're okay with the Hall of Fame? I know there was a lot of controversy. We probably have to save that for.
We'll save it for another time. We'll save it for another time.
I know Dustin and Jacob had a lot to say.
All right. We'll table it.
The disrespect or lack of, or whatever you want to call it. But hey, Brian, thanks, man. Thanks for joining us, and we'll get you back on here as we get ready for the NFL draft. How about that?
Yep, sounds great, Gene. Thanks as always, sir.
All right. We're out of here, Brian. Have a good one.
You too. Take